Hey everyone, we are now recording this meeting. Hopefully nobody says anything inappropriate moving forward, as it will be, in the historical record. But we want to take a moment just to welcome you to our afternoon of learning here with Phi Theta Kappa student engagement team. We are pretty informal when we have these meetings. This is kind of an open space for all of us to learn and grow together. And we appreciate that you take the time to be here with us. We're try hard to make these sessions not, where we're all just kind of getting talked at, but we're together, we're engaging. And Patty does a wonderful job of bringing participants and panelists that can teach us new things. But for those of you who are on here joining, you are a Phi Theta Kappa advisor, which in my view and for my money is the best role in student success a person could ever have. I always tell people, with respect to my colleagues that I work with and all the wonderful work we do at PTK, I will never have a better job than when I was a Phi Theta Kappa advisor, because you get to every single day change the world. But not only are you changing the world, you're doing it in a way where you're kind of collecting the names of students every single year, sometimes every single month, a new student. Maybe it's just a letter that you wrote for a student. Maybe it's a conversation you had about transfer or career options. Maybe it's one of those students that become kind of like family over the years. They serve as a chapter officer and you really get to mentor them and to know them. This work is more important in the community college space than in any other sector of higher education, because we are working with more first generation students, more students facing systemic barriers, more students juggling family and jobs and all the other issues that people are facing to try to get a degree or credential. And we are grateful that you take the time to work with us. I believe that if you will give it a chance, if you're one of those new advisors, Phi Theta Kappa will become, if not the most, one of the most rewarding aspects of your job and your work in higher education. It seems like every day I hear from higher ed professionals that say, I was trained as a English, literary theorist, and I'm an English professor. But what I really love is the work that I do with Phi Theta Kappa, because it's Phi Theta Kappa where you build a network of like-minded leaders and scholars and friends. It's also Phi Theta Kappa where you get to engage that sweet spot of high achieving, but also typically low income and first generation students looking to find their way in the world. And I think we can all agree that our world would be a better place if more former Phi Theta Kappa officers and leaders rose up to positions of influence. And that's what we're all about, creating a change and making sure that we leave the world better than we found it. So it's a pleasure to have y'all here. I think today you're going to have a really interesting session about how to get started. And I will say this, and I know this will be covered, but I will give my 2 cents. It is so easy to view our programs and say, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's going to be too difficult. When we talk about being a 5-star chapter, we are really just talking about 5 things. It's like you probably already have members and you're running induction, so 1 star. You probably have already thought about getting some chapter officers, checking off the 2nd star. I encourage you to engage with your region in any way that you can to get the 3rd star, and then College Project for 4-star and Honors in Action for 5th star. Every year, it is the students that work through College Project and Honors in Action that end up being the Jack Kent Cooke Scholars, the All USA Scholars, the Distinguished Chapter Officer and Officer Team, any way that we measure the best and brightest students in the community college space. And I will remind you, as I always do, that when those students transfer to university, if they do, they will outperform the students that started at university, in no small part because while they're here, they're doing high-level research through Honors in Action. They're engaging with their college administration and their community through the College Project. We believe in our programs, and I challenge you to get involved with them in any way that you possibly can. Want to make sure you are aware of our student engagement team and the folks on the call. We have Susan Edwards, that is our Associate VP of Honors Programs and Undergraduate Research. If you were one of the top performing Honors in Action chapters, you know that soon you'll be able to see your work published in the journal. Susan leads our Honors Program Council and faculty scholars and so many wonderful professional development opportunities. We're all excited about the art and science of play. You could not have a better topic to dive into if it's going to be your first time doing honors in action, and we're excited about that. We have Jennifer Stanford, our Associate VP of Program Implementation, a wide-ranging resource for all things PTK, but especially knowledgeable if you have students that are interested in running for the international officer and want to engage that campaign. Also, if you are interested in participating in the college project, also all things Hallmark Awards. Jennifer runs our Hallmark Awards program, not just for Honors in Action and College Project, but for all those other awards. If you want to nominate a distinguished college administrator, if you have a college president, if you have a member of your chapter that you want to nominate for distinguished member, Jennifer has the information on all of that. And we have Reagan Chastain, our curriculum designer, who adds so much to our team, especially in bringing opportunities directly to students. If you are unfamiliar with our PTK Edge programs, just send an email to reagan.chastain@ptk.org, and she'll give you an idea of how we have a program for almost any student in the community college space, whether they want to go into workforce, maybe they just want to grow and learn a little bit about their leadership philosophy, learning about research, professional development, transfer success. All those programs are housed in our getinedge.ptk.org website. And we have Ryan Martin, our chapter outreach and development coordinator from the great state of Arizona, where I don't know what time it is, who knows out there, but Ryan is a former regional coordinator and chapter advisor and incredibly knowledgeable about how you can get your chapter off the ground, especially if you're in divisions 3 and 4 and you say, like, I need to talk to somebody to figure out how to even get started. Or maybe you've been going for a while, but you say, I want to just engage and figure out how we can do this in a different way. Ryan is always available to meet, to talk to you, and to give you her guidance as a student success champion. And we have the person running our session today, Patty Van Adder, also chapter outreach and development coordinator for divisions 1 and 2. Patty is a former regional coordinator for the Middle States region, one of our loudest and proudest regions at Catalyst. I heard, the MSR. I have to tell you, by the way, if you're just like getting into, PTK, this may be like, what is happening? What am I, but I will tell you, I had one of our staff members was going to present at the Middle States regional meeting. And I had told her I didn't realize they have a little cheer that's like, I am, we are, I am, we are, I am, we are, MSR, right? Well, I didn't know that you said I am, we are 3 times. So I said, oh, this will be a great hit. Just go in there and say I am, which she did. And they were like, we are. And then everybody had blank looks on their face because I was unaware you have to do that 3 times. So when you get engaged with your region, whichever one of our 29 regions you're a part of, you will get to know all these nuances. But I hope you have your coffee ready, your sparkling water ready. If you're drinking something else out there, Sioux Grove, I know it's wine o'clock up there in Minnesota, whatever it is that you got, we are just so happy that you've taken some time to spend time with us this afternoon. We consider it a privilege to learn and grow right alongside you. But we're so thankful that you take time out of everything you do to be a PTK advisor. So welcome. Happy to have y'all here. And I will now turn it back over to the rest of the team.
Thank you, Blake. So we were talking a little bit, how is everybody recovered from Catalyst and are we ready? And it was such a great celebration, right? And I remember being a chapter advisor. I never wanted Catalyst to end for a couple of reasons. Everybody in the room was always having a good time, right? And you didn't want to say goodbye. And the other thing meant that the minute you left Catalyst and got on the plane and got back to your college and you delivered the awards to your college administration, you had to start all over again, right? And it happens, for me, it happened consecutively, 15 or 16 consecutive years. And so it's just one of those things, right? And we're always very really exhilarated about it. And I remember my first couple of years as an advisor, and we would get, have trainings like this, and they say, plan early. And as you see on the screen, I, like many of you, probably are thinking the same thing. It's only April, but next week is May. So we know how that goes, right? our entire officer team is graduating, and I really want to focus on them. And we haven't really gotten to the point of getting our new team in. Been there, done that. And I am a 5-star chapter, or I'm a 3-star or a 4-star, and I really want to relish that for a little bit longer than just the month that it's been since Catalyst, right? The ink isn't even dry on the certificate. And so I want to relish that status, and I'm not ready to get started, and we just want to keep celebrating that, which is all well and good. But I encourage you to just, let's flip the script a little bit, right? April, although it is about the tons of inductions, I opened up my Facebook feed over the last couple of days and see so many chapters for the first time in 2 years celebrating inductions in person on campus, and there are so many. And it's the time of year where it is celebratory, and we're coming back from regional and international conventions, and we just kind of want to take a breather. But I think that if we look at April just being planning, not that we're asking you to start your college project and honors and action right away in April, but using the 5-star plan as your planning guide, right, to what you want to do the rest of the year. Because before you know it, it's going to be August, and then it's going to be September. And chapter planning helps the chapter, right, to be accountable for what they want to achieve throughout the year. And chapter planning helps decide how best to use our resources, right? And that includes the shared experiences of what you experienced in 2021, taking a look at what time and how your academic calendar fits inside the 5-star plan, and all of the information that is available. All of that combined together makes the most significant contribution to a successful chapter. Planning lays the basis for the chapter to assess and evaluate their achievements effectively. And it just sets the tone for the rest of the year, right? And so using that 5-star plan as your guide, looking at it in April, is the best way to take a look and get started. When we say about empowering the team, we're talking about, using this time in April where you're using your team that's getting ready to graduate, using that team to work with the new officers or anyone considering being an officer, using them to be the leaders, empowering them to continue the legacy that they're leaving right before they graduate. And I found that when I finally started to use this model years ago, it took a little bit off of me because it was peer-to-peer, it was student to student, it was officer to officer, and they could have those conversations that they could relate better to than I could, because I wasn't the student that had a full class load or had work and all of that and how to do it. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple more slides, but definitely using the 5-star chapter plan as a planning guide in April is very beneficial to the chapter. Ryan?
And so like Patty said, planning, that's a big word, planning, and it helps us out. It's setting those goals to get us ready. So like the screen said, Rome was not built in a day, but they were still building bricks every hour. And what that kind of means is don't feel that you have to do everything in one day or one semester. Take your time, and that's where the planning piece comes in. That's where the activity guide comes in. That's where the honors and action workbook comes in. That's where keeping a journal comes in, and that will help you throughout the whole semester. Patty, can you go to the next slide?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what does that mean? So building a foundation using what Patty was talking about, those shared planning, shared experiences, and resources. And when we're talking about planning, again, goal setting, making sure that, yes, it's April. Yes, tomorrow is August, basically. I just skipped through June, July, and May too, just because that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about the academic year. So planning for your whole academic year, using those shared experiences. So what did we learn from last year and how can we use that in this year's planning? And then the resources. So when we're talking about the activity guide, when we're talking about the honors and action workbook, when we're talking about the college project resources and stuff like that, that's what we're talking about, the resources that you have available at the click of your fingers right here on the website. What is going to be sent to you when we're talking about the 5-star chapter plan. So if you all were at Catalyst, you got a big gigantic poster that I do not have up right now, but I do have it up in a certain spot. But having that up so you can have it right there and seeing where you're at and where you need to be. So again, don't feel like you have to do all of this at one time, but making sure that you use what you have available to you. And then with our different experiences. So when we talk about shared experiences, what was left for you from the previous chapter leaders? So if your chapter kept detailed notes, if they took a journal, how can we use those experiences of our chapter planning and the projects that we did in 2021, and how can the new incoming team benefit from that? What are some of the pros and cons of what we did last year? What are some of the things that we learned that we won't do again, or that we can enhance? What would you do differently? Would you work on the campus differently? Would you develop different relationships on your campus? Would you start earlier? And that's why we're stressing, you can start now. You could start when PTK starts in January. And I know that's difficult for everybody. And we'll talk about, the calendar at another time, but, just staying on track. And what technology did you utilize with communicating? Was that easy? Was it not? Especially when we're in this hybrid model of things. And then what legacy that is left with your chapter, and that you can build upon. So is that legacy what you need to have for your chapter this time? Or is it something that you can build upon or start from scratch? So those are some of the kind of shared experiences that you want to have those different conversations with your chapter.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing with this particular one. One of the things that I found really good, how we save our Hallmark Award entries after we're jumping up and down that we're done, right? We save them for a reason. And this is a really good reason, right? To use that Hallmark Award entry as something as a resource to review. This is what we did. Not so much about the writing. That could come at another time later in the year when you're getting ready to write this year's Hallmark Awards. But use it to figure out what processes you might have skipped or some of the things that you would have wanted to focus on in your project. So that's what's good about looking at the Hallmark Awards and using them as a resource, right? Phi Theta Kappa provides chapters with the resources that they need to engage in all of our programs and all of our projects. And chapter planning time is the ultimate time to access and use these resources to support your chapter's goals. If you know your chapter was a 3 or a 4-star and all that's left is to achieve that 5-star, you want to pull that honors study, that honors program guide and start taking a look at it now so that you can decide that is something you can do this year. This whole PowerPoint will be sent to all of you. And you can use the links. We're not going to look at each of the links that are here, but when you get it at home, you'll be able to click on each of the links and get to those resources, such as the activity guide for chapter leaders and an activity on how to set a project goal. And maybe you're stuck on college project ideas. Maybe your chapter didn't do a college project and you didn't really want to know where to start, but there's great inspiration with those ideas. All of these resources are great for chapter officers and leader orientation programs, right? Making sure that they have the basics and that they understand it. And they're not just looking at the website, just willy-nilly, that they have these resources and they can make the connections to why they are important, because they are essential by themselves and they all work together well too. So if you're looking for ideas on how to browse for more resources, there's an activity in the guide where you can set up a PTK website treasure hunt, right? And you can offer prizes, right? And that'll give them, once they're doing that activity, it'll give them an understanding of what's on the website and where to look, right? you want to learn more about the college project and honors program, getting inspired. I can't wait till the new editions come out, right? Of change makers and civic scholars. Every chapter advisor, every chapter officer member should look at them cover to cover and be inspired by the work that's being done by peers that are just like them, right? It's the same story, you know, there's only a handful of officers, a handful of active members. We have no budget. How do we make something out of nothing? Open up those journals and be inspired by what you see in there, right? And you can't find any inspiration there, you can always contact Ryan and I, and we'll help you find the starting point for where you would like to go with your chapter. That's what we're here for too. Planning the college project, right? We all know the difference between college project and honors in action, and planning the college project. And one of the things, if you were at Catalyst and you could see the chapters coming down that have earned distinguished college projects, and we're going to hear from Lynette McFarland soon about her distinguished college project, but I saw college presidents all in that auditorium that were just beaming with pride, right? And I know, even though we know what the purpose of the college project is, it's about building that administrative support. They are so proud because they know the work that you've done with it, right? And that is the purpose of it. And there's all sorts of support on creating a college project, and you'll see them there. And if your college didn't do one, if your chapter didn't do one last year, don't worry. Same starting spot. Everybody's brand new this year. Everybody gets to start all over, right? You know, if you did do a college project, maybe you want to sit down and do a debriefing session and discuss the processes that you followed. You know, did we communicate well with our collaborators? Did we have a good communication system with the college administration? Were they really aware of what they were doing, right? And if you hear these, what I'm saying now, you will find that those will be questions in your honors in action. I mean, in your Hallmark Award entry, and you want to be able to answer them. So maybe you have a meeting where you're posing the question: what worked? What could we have done different? You know, how well did we follow the planning rubric? Oh my gosh, here we go. Use the rubric as planning, right, for the college project. And so tons of resources that you can follow. And once you have like those brainstorming meetings or debriefing sessions, then you're going to get ready for following the college project steps. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Stanford.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Patty, for emphasizing rubrics. We know we're not going to go over, every single step in great detail here, because we've got two great chapters that we want to be sure to save time so you can hear directly from them about what their process looked like. But this is there on the PowerPoint that is shared so that you can go back and visit this. The main thing to emphasize here is that every campus is going to be a little bit different in terms of, what that process looks like for a chapter to actually organize a meeting with your college president. And we really hope that the chapter, either the president or one or two officers that are particularly designated to work with the college project are going to be able to have that face-to-face meeting or Zoom meeting if it works out that way with the college administration to really have that networking opportunity, but to also start that conversation about what the college needs are. Where does the Phi Theta Kappa chapter really fit as a resource in terms of giving them some additional people power to carry out a project that really will make a difference towards their strategic plan, what their goals are at this moment in time. And so that's, it may be that you already know that the college president expects the chapter to have, 3 or 4 ideas to come with. And we certainly recommend that. That is a best practice to have a conversation, look over the college's mission statement, priorities before you meet with the college administration so that it can be a more productive conversation. So I think the advisor really plays a big role in sort of helping the chapter members develop their professionalism and their skills in terms of communicating and what's appropriate and maybe not appropriate with communicating with the administration and understanding, the value of their time and really making the most of that meeting. And so the other areas, I know that we'll probably talk through some of these with our chapter co-presenters, but just that flexibility, knowing that things change and that you want the chapter to be nimble enough to go back to the administration if there is a significant obstacle or roadblock, to either work around it or go in a different direction. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, as Patty said, all about that relationship between the chapter and the college administration. So of course you want to have project outcomes, but the most important outcome is that you've strengthened that relationship and the college sees the chapter as a true partner and certainly an ally to their goals. So it's not just all about, what can the college do for the chapter. The next slide, Patty. Okay. So again, these are, some best practices you can look over on your own time with your chapter leaders, but know that we certainly want you to do some prep, just like you do with Honors in Action, to make sure that college project goes smoothly. And part of that can be PTK resources, like the soft skills that come through PTK Edge, as well as our leadership course. And then know that you don't have to do this project completely on your own. The chapter members can reach out to other student organizations. You're going to hear more about that with these other 2 chapters. And, that is perfect. That is the best case scenario, because we want you to build those relationships with others on campus, spread the word about Phi Theta Kappa in the process. All right, Patty, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jennifer. We're gonna go over to Brian now.
Okay, and so I don't know if you all are hearing kind of a common theme, but planning early is a key. And then one of the other ways, so we're talking about planning for Honors in Action project. So, that's the project which HIA combines academic research and problem solving, and it's action oriented. And Susan's going to talk a lot about that in a few, but some of the ways to plan for that is to plan early, of course, but to also, when I was an advisor, what I stress so much, and I stress now, again, is follow the rubric. The rubric is going to give you everything you need to, it's going to say, here's what you need in order to get these points. And then there's a really cool guide for that. So being able to take advantage of some of the resources that are designed to implement a HIA project and be successful in that is using the Honors in Action workbook, which is a roadmap to help chapters development and implement a robust Honors in Action project. The planning rubric. You guys can't see my notes, but I put that in capital letters, really big, and I bolded it like you could see it, but you can't see it. So I'm seeing it. Rubric, rubric, rubric. That's going to, and like I said, it's going to give you everything you need that is required for the points you need to have a successful and possibly award-winning Honors in Action project. Journaling, we talked about that earlier. Journaling isn't just for you to, keep notes. It's for you to leave, detailed notes for the next incoming team. It just keeps step by step on what you did. And maybe you missed a step, and that new team that's coming in is going to be like, hey, maybe we should try this and add it into there, mixing some stuff up. But they have kind of that foundation, those instructions to use when it's time to start theirs. And then there's a academic sources guide. So if you haven't done a paper before, written a paper, and you're like, I don't, some people are doing MLA with Honors in Action, it's APA. So it shows you how to do those academic sources and how to get them and how to cite them. Another important one is Honors in Action grants. You're like, how are we going to pay for this? Well, there's a grant for you all to apply for. The application, I believe, is going to be available early summer 2022. And Susan can confirm that. I see her nodding her head, so that's super great. But this is a way for you to enhance your Honors in Action programming. So what an awesome way to, you're like, we don't have funding on our campus. There's grants for you to use. And then just being able to look back, Patty had said it a little bit earlier, but being able to look back at what you did in 2021 and say, hey, again, looking at the pros and cons of it, say, debrief after everything you do, debrief after it, and just make sure you look at the pros and cons, and then see what worked, what didn't work, what you could have done differently, and then using the activity guide for chapter leaders. That's so important. It has so many different resources and activities for you to use that will help you as a new team and even as a more seasoned team. There's stuff in there that you might not have thought about, and it could help you with throughout your whole project of planning. So I'm going to turn it over to Susan.
Hey, thank you so much, Ryan. And Ryan's right about Honors and Action Grants. The application will open this summer and be due in early September. So you have a little time to work on that. You can apply for up to $1,000. Check out ptk.org/honors. You'll see that there are some restrictions on how you can use the funds. Those are set by the Mellon Foundation. But part of planning is to know how you can use the funds and maybe how you can't use them. For example, you can't pay for food, but you can pay for lots of other types of things at any point through the project. So look for those applications, and if you have questions, just holler, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you as you're applying. So with Honors in Action, we do get the idea, I think Patty mentioned it, that you have to have a big team and you have to have all of the expertise to do Honors in Action, and it's just too hard. And none of those things is true. Honors in Action has been the great equalizer for chapters. Large chapters have done well, medium-sized chapters have, and small chapters have done really well with Honors in Action as well. It only takes 1 or 2 members. That's it. Is one member who has great passion for doing an Honors in Action project, who brings in another person to work with him or her. That's a team. That's what we're asking for chapters to do. So don't let it stop you if you don't have a big team yet. It could be that those 2 really enthusiastic members will bring in other people and plan how they might do that. And then take it one step at a time. Everybody's been mentioning the rubric, which is really important, which is why we're all mentioning it. You want to take a look at the planning rubric and then just look at the process. If you look at the Honors Program Guide, which has now been published, if you went to Catalyst, you have a hard copy of that. Those of you who don't have them yet will get hard copies in the next month. We're sending 5 to every chapter. And then, of course, it's online at ptk.org/honors. The PDF is there. You may download it, print it, share it with everybody on campus. That's all good. So, please feel free to do that. And I'll talk in a minute. It's just really important. So having the Honors Program Guide, having the Honors in Action Planning rubric are really important. And Patty mentioned this earns you 5-star status if you do an Honors in Action project. And the last piece of that project is submitting your Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry. You reach 5-star status. And that really gives not only the team working on that project that status, but builds some tradition for your chapter if you're not there yet, that we can do this. The team who came before us can do this, and we're going to continue with that tradition. Project has to be completed sometime between January 1st and December 31st, 2022. So I think it was Jennifer who mentioned, and Patty too, that doesn't have to be that you start right this minute. We have chapters who start in the spring and the summer. We have some chapters who very successfully start in the fall. They plan out their projects so they fit it all in the time period which they have. And then the Hallmark Award entries are due on January 18th, 2023. Make that part of your planning. We want to hear what you've done. That's really important for us. And it gives us an opportunity to really work to help the second part of Phi Theta Kappa's mission to provide opportunities for college students to grow as scholars and leaders. So please submit those Hallmark Award entries. They're not just about winning awards, although the awards are really nice. We're going to hear from some award-winning chapters, but it's also an opportunity to lay the groundwork for the people who come after you, to share with your college administration, with faculty who have helped you, and with your board of trustees and other people who want to hear what you've been doing and the great work you've been doing. Let's go to the next slide, please. So Honors in Action is all about starting with the honor study topic. And Blake had mentioned that it's the art and science of play for the next 2 years. It's an exciting topic. There's so much you can do with it. We have 7 themes. The place you start is in looking at the rubric, which is in the honors program guide, I think pages 22 through 24, but also looking at all of the themes. Take a look at the overview of the honor study topic. And then for each theme, there's an introduction to the theme. There's an overarching question, sort of gives you a clue about what the theme is about. And there are some suggested resources that you can use or not use. They're there just to give you some ideas of what you can use and to give you a sense of the direction you might go. And really brainstorm, even if you've got that team that's 2 people, brainstorm. Recommend not voting on the theme, mostly because the people who lose the vote can disappear, but reach consensus. That's really what the Honors Program Council does. We talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, and then we talk some more until everybody in the room can live with the direction we're going. And that means that everybody has buy-in. We don't leave that room at the end of the Honors Program Council meeting until we've agreed. That's a best practice for chapters as well. So everything that you think about play, there is something for you in this honor study topic and in one of these 7 themes. And then let's do the next slide. Thank you. So like these little girls who are playing and having a good time, I love this image. Follow the process for Honors in Action. Think of it holistically. Honors in Action starts with research, academic research into the honor study topic, looking at different viewpoints, and then moves through the action and the reflection and the impact. It's intentional, informed service based on your academic exploration of the honor study topic. The real key, because there's so much more, and we're always happy to answer those questions for you. The key is that you do the academic research first. And that can be really difficult, as advisors, to really kind of put the brakes, for those of you as students, this too, student leaders, put the brakes on people who really want to do the action at the beginning and say, well, we want to do this action, let's just put some sources in there. But you're not learning the process, and you're not really learning how to grow if you do it that way. So do the research first, find out what's important in your community as you define it, and then you determine your action. I think it was Patty who said, keep a journal throughout the process. Ryan mentioned it as well. In part that's so you can leave the information for the people who come behind you, but also because we want you to see this holistically, and Honors in Action ends with that Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry. Your life is going to be so much easier if you have kept a journal of your thought processes and your planning and your collaborators and your APA citations. There is no reason to do them at the last minute. They should already be in your journal. And you're going to have all that information at your fingertips when you go to answer the questions for the Honors in Action Hallmark Award entry. And then just remember that you're always studying the honor study topic. The theme is the lens through which you view the overall topic. I think it's going to help a lot this time that all of the overarching questions and all of the themes have the word play in them. So to remind you that you're looking at the art and science of play, and then you want to stay there. And there's the planning rubric, pages 24 through 26. So that you can check out that rubric, break it down. There are pieces to it. You want to make sure those pieces make it into your planning process, and know that this is doable. It's doable for all chapters. There's so much exciting work that's done through Honors in Action. And we appreciate that you're helping us fulfill the second part of our mission as you do this. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Patty because we have some exciting people to hear from.
We do. Thank you, Susan. Just so all of you are aware that later on in the summer, we will do deep dives into college project and honors in action. This is just all about planning and, finding those resources and having those ideas. And I will say, I distinctly remember the year that I decided to take the guide when I was an advisor was to take the guide and assign homework to my 3 chapter officers over the course of a 2-week period. That was the year we finally were able to earn an honors in action and distinguished chapter that year. So I really found it easier to pick it up in the summer and plan and have them take a look at it. And it made the year a whole lot easier, much more rewarding. And speaking about rewarding, really honored today we have 2 chapters with us today. They're going to talk about their experience in 2021. Both of them are as different as anything. They're going to share with their shared experiences and their best practices on how early planning was key to their success, right? The first chapter, I met Lynette McFarland. She became an advisor in October 2020. So I like to call her one of the pandemic crew advisors who had no idea what Phi Theta Kappa was and just wanted to get started. And she has a really great story about how her chapter and her decided to make a difference on their campus and how they decided to approach it through early planning. So Lynette is from the Beta Beta Epsilon chapter of Great Basin College in Nevada. Like I said, she started in October 2020, and this was her first full year as an advisor. The Beta Beta Epsilon chapter achieved 4-star recognition in the 5-star plan, earned a distinguished college project award on both the regional and international levels. I'm going to turn it over to Lynette, and you can hear more from her about her experience. Lynette?
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Patty, for inviting me to be here with this distinguished group of people. I've learned so much already. This has been very inspiring. And so I don't want to take up too much time, but I did want to tell you that I was scared to death at the beginning. And in October of 2020, our advisor for Phi Theta Kappa at Great Basin College decided he didn't want to be the advisor anymore. And at that point in time, we didn't even have any officers. And I was approached and asked if I would take the group and help them out until they could find an advisor. And I said, I would be happy to do that because I truly believe in Phi Theta Kappa. I believe in their mission. And so my intent was just to go on my merry way and to help them get restarted, to start anew. And as I had told Patty at one point in time, I never intended that I would fall in love with the students. And I never intended that I would become so vested in what Phi Theta Kappa stands for. And we were kind of at a loss because we didn't have officers. And so it got busy. I have to tell you, I had very strong support from the Nevada, California region. Miriam Moody, if you haven't met her, she's the marvelous Miriam Moody. Reached out to me. I was receiving tons of emails. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was inundated. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out. Bruno Rhodes from the College of Southern Nevada. Barbara, I think, is in this session today. So I had strong support from the Nevada, California region, keeping in mind that our college had never, ever once ever participated regionally or nationally or internationally. So I really didn't have a history. I didn't have any support. I had no one coming in saying, this is what you do. This is how you do it. This is how you navigate the PTK international website. And I just got started, and I relied a lot on the Nevada, California group of people to help me out. And so we held our first meeting, And we were able to elect officers in November. So they actually started in December. So we were behind the rest of the chapters, but these are the 5 Ps that I brought to the first meeting. And I told them that if we were going to do this, we were going to put our hearts into it, and we were going to do it well. We were going to ask for help because we needed help. And so that's one message I want to tell everyone is, if you're floundering, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing, some of the finest people I've ever met are Phi Theta Kappa advisors and people such as Patty, all of you who are here today. I believe that all of you want the students to succeed, and you want the chapters to succeed. And so our 5 Ps were planning or preparedness, permission, and I'll address that in just a moment. Purpose is very important. Why are we doing what we're doing? Passion and presence. So if we're going to make a commitment to Honors in Action or the college project or Founders Day, we're going to do it well, and we need to show up, and we need to be there, and we need to support one another. So what we decided to do and what we talked about was that you're all members of Phi Theta Kappa. I had a working group of 15 to 20 students, even though we have about 125 members, but I was so happy to have that working core. And we met and we talked about the fact that, yes, you're Phi Theta Kappa members, and that is just phenomenal. You have that 3.5 GPA, and you have taken 12 or more credits. And so, you know, you are an honoree, but at the same time, what we really wanted to focus on is for them to take that intellect and turn it into leadership and to service. So the next step was to really talk about who do we want to serve and why. And we were right in the midst of the pandemic. And so there were several days that our schools were closed down. And so children were not receiving their snack breakfasts or their free meals in schools. Head Start of Northeastern Nevada was closed down with 135 children, 74 days. And this program is for low-income families, and they usually receive 2 hot meals a day. They were no longer receiving those hot meals. And so we decided that the students decided they wanted to have a food drive. And this is where we had to seek that permission. So our president said, you know, I am behind you all the way, but I want you to share your initiatives with me to see if they're on track. And so we met with her before we even knew we really needed to, you know, align what we're doing with the college project with our mission and to get that administrative buy-in. So we met with her and she said, I totally support a Share the Bounty food drive. If you do it drive-through, drop off, everyone wears masks, and you do it well and you do it professionally. And so that was awesome right out of the gate. We held a food drive in April. Because we're hybrid, we offer online courses, but we also offer live courses. So we actually had food drives in 3 communities in Nevada. We had a student in Ghana, West Africa, and we also had a student in Brooklyn, New York. So we held food drives all on the same day. We were able to gather over 4,000 pounds of food, and then they were distributed to the nonprofits. And I guess I just want to come back and say that the preparedness was what was so important, the planning, bringing our administrators into the fold. We had 20 volunteers who were professors and administrators helping at the food drive. Purpose, they had their purpose because our students established that if children go to school hungry, they can't learn and they can't thrive. And then that also affects their families, and we wanted to build stronger communities. That passion really helped them to become present. So then we wrote that our first college project paper, the students wrote it. It was put into a Google Doc. We had a writing team of 6, and we had an amazing young lady who was an English major. So it's good to get that good writer in there to be the team leader. And we actually shared with Patty what we were doing and asked for support, again, ask for help, ask for advice. And we were able to submit that. And just one thing before I end, because I know there's another presentation. When we started, we were 1 star. And I remember getting the certificate in the mail. I'm like, what? We're 1 star. Who wants to be a 1 star? I don't want to be a 1 star. And we said, we 2, we'll take 2 stars. And then I did tell the students, I said, let's just do really good work for good reasons. Let's find our purpose and our passion, and maybe the stars will fall where they may. And I get emotional because in 2 years, we went from 1 star, 2 star, and with the help of all of those of you who are out there, we were able to become a 4-star chapter. And our paper won 2nd, College Project won 2nd on a regional level, and just received this in the mail because we weren't able to go to Catalyst, which is our next step, because we didn't have any money in our budget. Miriam Moody was able to accept this for us, and I just received it in the mail. And did we dream of winning an award? You bet. Did we think it was happening? It was going to happen? Not really. But we had a pizza party the night it was announced at the regional, and we were jumping and cheering, and it reverberated across campus. And then Patty contacted me the night that we were awarded the international award. So it can be done. And so I just want to thank all of you for the amazing work that you're doing. And we're going to write our first Honors in Action paper. And so we'll shoot for the stars.
Oh, oh God, I'm not crying, you're crying, right? Congratulations, Lynette, and to everyone at Beta Beta Epsilon. Jennifer, did you want to add something regarding their college project?
I thought it was great. Lynette, you really did a great job explaining it. And I think the key takeaway for the audience is also, that idea of the administration is going to be in the driving seat. And I know you guys, started brainstorming and then realized that you did need that permission. But I want to say that it is possible to have a project that is bringing in the community, because, community is in our name for community colleges. And so again, if your college administration is supportive and that's what they're wanting the chapter to focus on, then any project is a good college project. So appreciate your sharing the details, and we are celebrating right along with your chapter.
Awesome. Okay, next up, Ryan, you're going to introduce our next.
All right.
guest.
So I am honored, and we are honored to have with us a distinguished chapter this year, Alpha Tau Zeta, and we have their advisors, so Kay Helms and Hayden Benson from Athens Technical College in Athens, Georgia. Kind of a little background, Kay has served as Alpha Tau Zeta's chapter advisor since October of 2002. So thank you for your service. I wanted to put that out there because she's been an advisor for a really long time, and that's super awesome. And then Hayden is a new advisor who began her service during the pandemic, so July 2020. So, it was probably a little difficult, like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into kind of thing. But the chapter is a 2022 Distinguished Chapter, earning a Hallmark Award for Honors in Action. And they're joined by their chapter president, Chandra, and Vice President of Service, Catherine. Their Distinguished Honors in Action project from Theme 5, Resistance, Reform, Rebellion, Revolution, is titled Changing the Legacy of Systemic Discrimination in the Mental Health Care System. So I will turn it over to Kay, and they can talk about their amazing project.
Well, hi, everybody. We're really happy to be here. I want to thank Patty for inviting us, and everybody behind the scenes for encouraging us to present to you some of our ideas about honors in action. Chandra's here, and Hayden Benson's here, who just got married. So she's Hayden Benson Kelly now. So we're all excited about that. And one of the things that we do at the very beginning, one of the things Patty asked us to do, by the way, is to come up with 5 to 7 different tips for planning for honors in action. So that's kind of how we thought about this presentation this afternoon. I'd like to first start by saying I always tell our chapter officers that the program project guide is your best friend. Don't go anywhere without it. If people ask you, what are you going to do for HIA? I have no ideas. What do we start? How do we do it? You need to get the program guide in your hand and just start working from that immediately. And so I'd like to throw it to Chandra right now. Chandra ran for Division II International Officer, Vice President. She was a finalist and we're really, really proud of her. She has a unique story for how she ended up joining Phi Theta Kappa. And I'd like for her to tell you all about how we actually choose our projects. We work with the project guide, but we also try to tap in to the passion of our chapter officer as it relates to the Honors in Action study topic. So Chandra, why don't you kind of kick us off with how that all transpired for us?
Okay. Well, like they were saying earlier, we actually started our planning around April. So we started early, and initially we started out talking just kind of like, okay, what is it that we want to do? What is it that we want to say? And having those discussions with all of us as officers and advisors. And when we decided that we were going to focus on mental health and also disparities in care, we had a group discussion revolving around, okay, does anybody have a specific group that has faced disparities in care in mental health that you want to make sure is included in this project? And every officer had the opportunity to, mention a specific group and even pioneer the inclusion of that group. And by pioneer, I mean do the work to make sure that that group was included. For me, my nomination was the LGBTQ community. I don't know if not many of you know me, but I am non-binary and pan, and I grew up in an extremely homophobic household. I was closeted for a really long time because I knew that coming out meant disownment, which it did, because eventually that happened. I know the process is like going through that, living through that, the effect that it had on my mental health, and that there were no resources for me to find help for a long time. And I know that for my son, who is transgender, finding help for him in a like that is accepting and inclusive and gender affirming is ridiculously hard. It's insane how hard it is. So that is something that I'm really, really passionate about. So for me, that was what I wanted to focus on. And I worked really hard to make sure that that community was included, and that these inequities were addressed and brought to light.
One of the things Chandra said to me, that was a really moving discussion that we had with all of our officers, and one that we will all remember. But one of the things Chandra said to me was, everywhere she went, people said no to her. Everywhere anything she asked for, whatever happened, they said no. But she found PTK and they said yes. So, that's kind of what guided our whole year, is that we can say yes and we can do it proudly. So that was the setting that we started with our project. I think another shout out needs to go to Susan Edwards, because Susan is so good at encouraging us to apply for the Mellon grant. And we're a little school, we're a little chapter, and Susan just always was emailing saying, don't forget to apply for the Mellon. This is really helpful to HIA. And, as we started talking, we weren't very organized. We were just kind of all over the place. And this forced us into getting organized early. So one of my tips was to apply for the Mellon grant and to use this as an opportunity to really jumpstart your HIA planning, your goals, and develop your research plan, because each one of those components is in the Mellon grant application. So it forces you to think about your project, think about your research question, do a little bit of research, get the ground wet a little bit about where you want to go, and put it down in writing. And so it taught the students also and the officers what they had to look forward to with the Hallmark Award writing, which they didn't all run. So I was happy about that. But so that was one of the things I'd like to say, is that really allow your chapters that information about these different grant opportunities to support your HRA. And the money's great too, but I think what was most rewarding for us was going through that process of thinking early about our HIA and what we wanted to accomplish. The money was great. We passed out honorarius to 3 local service providers who supported our Mental Health in Action Expo, which we did. And then we also had one other tip, and then I'll get Hayden in here, is that because we're doing Mental Health in Action, we wanted to have an expo. We wanted to bring in as many different local service providers as we could who deal with mental health. And so the mayor came and he kicked off and gave us a proclamation, but we had 35 different vendors and providers in our student center, and it was a bad day. So we had to rent a tent at the last minute, and you name it, it happened. Ms. Benson couldn't attend because of a family problem. Everything fell apart, but we were so happy that we did it. And what made it even more important is we had a art lab, because we really felt strongly that art was a pathway to mental wellness. So that was another little spin-off for our Honors in Action. So we had a tent, which was an art lab, and we had art teachers displaying students' work and working on mandalas with the students. And the culmination of that was a project that we did called the Evening of the Arts. And so we tried to display all the students' artwork. Well, we started talking to the English people, the English faculty, and the English faculty talked to us. And all of a sudden now we've published a student publication on their art. And so we have poetry, we have creative writing, we have photographs, we have pictures. And we celebrated just 2 weeks ago at the Evening of the Arts in the auditorium and brought everybody together, and they all displayed and talked about their work. So it was a 3-pronged event that kind of lasted over the December 31st deadline. You know, we kind of pushed it into January, February. So we love the collaboration with faculty. And because we were able to collaborate with the English faculty, the Gen Ed division, we just pushed our roots all over campus. And it took pressure off of us because they were helping us produce different parts of our Honors in Action. So we all worked together to be able to pull this all together. And so I would say my second tip is collaborate with your faculty and your student organizations on campus, because you have more resources. We have a very small chapter, and yet we were able to do these wonderful things because of the support that we garnered through our interrelationships on campus. So I would say that my second tip. Hayden.
All right, thank you, Kay. Yeah, so going off of what you were talking about with the expo, the mental health expo, yes, we had we planned so early. We started planning and booking rooms like in April, May, summer, but then things, of course, we planned very well, but you know, of course, things happen. I had a family emergency. At last minute, we say, hey, there's a conflict with the room that you're going to have the expo in. And so my tip for you is to always have a backup plan, because even if you've planned everything very, very well, there's always a chance, you know, that something uncontrollable will happen. So you need to make sure you have a good backup plan. Thankfully, we were able to plan with our amazing officer team. They just were so helpful and just great in everything that we did, and they were able to help us. But that's something that we've learned, is to always have a backup plan and not to think that everything is going to go perfect, because that's not usually reality. Another tip that I have is one that's more focused on planning as well, and that's to delegate an officer to lead a certain part of your project. So one VP can be in charge of your research. They can be in charge of saying, hey, at this meeting, we're going to get these articles and we're going to talk about them and lead together the team on the research. You can have another VP in charge of outreach saying, hey, we need someone to contact the vendors and remind them. So we have a VP in charge of doing that aspect, since that related to our project. And that helped so that not everything would fall on one person. It was a very collaborative effort that our team handled very well. And that helped us very much in those, especially near those last few months in November when we're planning everything together. And then my final tip is determine a clear plan for how you will communicate. Because in our chapter, we have a lot of people who are working full time and they're not on campus very often. So we meet virtually, we have scheduled meetings between officers, scheduled meetings between advisors, scheduled everything, those meetings there virtually. But we also may plan, hey, let's go and meet here on campus, maybe once or twice every couple months. And a clear plan for how we communicate when we're not at meetings. So we like to use Microsoft Teams. We have a different chat for each semester. That way we're able to kind of keep things logged. So if we need to say, hey, what did we do in the fall? We can go back and look at what we did in the fall of that term and be able to see any useful links that we had as well. Or for collaborating when we're writing, we can say, hey, we're going to send drafts via email, or we're going to use other chapters, use Google Docs, I know. So those are my 3 main tips. And I guess I'll go ahead and pass it to, yeah. Sorry, Patty, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I was getting ready to cheer you and give you all a big hand. I mean.
Right, Chandra, did you have any more tips
Yes.
that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I guess I kind of didn't really get to that. So I would say have regular check-ins with a to-do list, all the things that you know you're working on and who is working on them, and check in with everybody to make sure that these things are getting done, because you don't want to find out 2 weeks before your event that nobody created the t-shirts.
Right.
And now you're begging local t-shirt companies to print them this fast. And like they said before, start with the research, because it really is important. We had a meeting with all of our officers like pretty early on in our planning session, where we sat down and we went over the HIA program guide, because all of us were brand new. Every single officer that worked on this project was brand new to PTK. Like, I had been a member for a whopping 2 months before I became an officer and started working on this. I had no idea what I was doing. But it was really helpful to sit down and go through that guide, so that we all started like getting an idea of what we were doing and what we needed to be doing. And I think the last thing I would say is, when you're doing all this planning, make sure that the goals that you're putting forward are attainable, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you've decided to do the impossible and then you get to the end of the year and you realize you're not going to finish this. It's not going to happen. We all want to do like the best projects that we can, but the best project is the one you can finish. So I would just say to try to make sure that the goals you're setting for yourself are attainable.
Wonderful. Thank you to all of you. And I encourage both Beta Epsilon and Alpha Tau Zeta chapter officer teams to meet with their incoming officers that are coming in soon. And I hope you share with them everything that you shared with us today, because I bet you this time next year, we will be meeting with those chapters again to hear about the success that they've had. So thank you to all of you, and congratulations on your success. We're just gonna a couple more slides, and then if there's any questions and answer Q&A, we'll do that real quick as well. But now is the perfect time to remind everybody that you can set your 5-star goal. The progress have been reset. If you need any assistance on setting that goal, reach out to Ryan or myself, and we'll be glad to work you through that. We want you to think about what star level your chapter is going to reach. And I think today, everybody on here definitely should be putting in a 5-star goal for 2022, because there's lots of resources, lots of shared experiences, lots of folks that are going to support you through the way. There's links on, you'll see this as well when you get the PowerPoint, there's links to the 5-star chapter poster, which are in the mail, along with the Honor City guides, honor program guides that are being sent to all advisors, and then also the 5-star chapter plan. Use that guide as a planning, take that guide and look at what has to be done and look at your calendar. And even though you might be using a pencil and then erasing and moving, at least, the advisors and the officers can get together and kind of like sort of agree what we're going to focus on each month moving forward. The motto of the 5-star plan, which I really like, is plan your work by working the plan. And that's exactly what this session was all about, you know, early planning, taking a look at it, being mindful. We asked everybody wants to have a little bit of summer vacation, and you want to plan for that too. And then what happens when we all come back for fall semester. And so, again, if you need any assistance with planning that goal, let us know. We are here to help you. And we also want you to save some dates. We're going to be coming back twice in May. Our next session will be, yay, with Reagan Chastain. She's going to talk to everybody about, oh, I'm sorry, Ryan, this was your slide. Go ahead.
No, you were doing great.
Oh,
I was like, go ahead, Patty. So on May 11th, Reagan is going to discuss the benefits students gain by participating in PTK programming, and so that you can share the why. And then on May 18th, we will host a chapter officer and leaders orientation, complete with activities, resources, and leadership development. So you don't want to miss those two. And if you've already registered, you don't have to register again. You just have to show
Just
up.
register any new officers that you may have that are come on between now and May 18th. And if you don't really have a whole lot of time to do a chapter officer orientation, Ryan and I have been doing them singularly the last couple of weeks with different chapters that are requesting it. And so now we just think we want to do one big one. So if you want to send them our way, we'll definitely be excited to work with them. We miss that part of being an advisor, don't we, Ryan? Doing this
We do.
We do.
We do.
Me too. And drum roll, please. We're going to start a new program in June for all new advisors under 1 year of service. More information is going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. We are going to go straight back to the basics and bring everybody forward. Kind of like nothing can compare to the 5-star curriculum plan that's self-paced and online. It's going to be a little bit like that, but we're going to go a little in depth on certain things. And so we're excited, Ryan and I, to do that. And that will start in June. And we'll be contacting our newest advisors. We've brought on so many new advisors in 2021, and we still are. And so we just want to gather them all in and start from the beginning with all of them. So I'm going to oh, and if the other thing, this will be in the slide if you want to contact us for any reason, whether it's Susan for honors programming or Jennifer for hallmarks or Ryan or myself, our emails will be on the slide there. And you'll be able to contact us from there. And I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to take a deep breath. Woo! What a session! I'm fired up. I don't know about all of you. Ready to go. Any questions? Do we have any questions, Reagan? Did you happen to notice in the chat today?
I think we covered them all.
You covered them all? All right. We will receive, you will receive, I see one right here. It takes about a half an hour or so for the recording to get back to me from the Zoom company. It takes me about a half a day to get it all pulled together, uploaded into YouTube. Hey, good news. I hear we might get a little spot on the website so that we can put all of the recordings in one spot in the near future. I'm so excited about that. It's in the works. And also we'll send you the PowerPoint as well. So I will always shoot by sending stuff out on Thursday or Friday to all of you, and then you'll have it. So thank you for coming. Is Blake here or he had to go? He had to go. Anything else? Anybody else want to add anything? No, you good? I'm gonna stop this thing.